morning, everyone. Welcome to another Coffee and Contemplation brought to you by Spotlight Recovery. It is March 20th. I'm your host, Lucas. We've got a bit of a lengthy one today. Self-support beyond the basket. It's a good perspective. I liked it. It talks a little bit about this kind of dichotomy that we can feel and have when we come into recovery on, I guess, more of finding the balance on between needing support and reaching out for support from others, and then also giving some support and doing that work to ourselves and for ourselves as well. So that's what we're going to cover today. So here we go. Like I said, that's a big one. So let's get into it. March 20th, self-support beyond the basket. So this is from page 82 of the NA, A Spiritual Principle a Day. So when we see that we can meet our own needs, we start to feel like we have a future. From Guiding Principles, Tradition 7, Opening Reflection. Active addiction was a dead-end circuit of dependence. Our reliance on dope, on the lifestyle, on that person to front us some cash one last time so we could get on our feet. We took without giving. We talked without listening. We made a lot of promises but came through on very few, if any of them. We couldn't see a way out or a future for ourselves until we got clean and began our journey towards self-support and recovery. When we consider self-support as a spiritual principle of Tradition 7, we think mostly of giving money or contributing our time to make sure a group can survive. But an NA group exists because it's made up of members who are practicing self-support in their own lives. In recovery, we learn to invest in ourselves and take care of our own needs. Instead of utter dependence on others, we look inside to find a well of strength and resources. We also take personal responsibility in situations where before it seemed that we were incapable of doing so. In fact, making our contributions to NA demonstrates our capacity and willingness to engage in self-support. We are investing in ourselves through our recovery community, practicing and keeping the doors open for those who come after. This support of others keeps us aloft, keeps us going. Self-support isn't something we practice alone. When we talk about taking care of our own needs, it doesn't mean we're self-sufficient. It means we're engaging the support we need. We can turn to our friends, a sponsor, our higher power, all of which are elements of self-support. We are an integral part of that system too. Because we're meeting our own needs, others can finally rely on us. I will practice self-support today by giving and receiving. If I stay on this path, I'll sustain the hope for a future I thought I'd never have. Yeah, I hope you resonate with this one. I hope you get some of the good vibes out of it that I do. It's a good perspective, and it's just, ironically or not, especially a perspective that I need to be hearing today. Specifically, it's really funny. Just with other things I've got going on in my life, this was absolutely what I needed to hear. So there's definitely some self motivation in this one too. Just talking about this concept of self-support, of taking care of ourselves, of doing that work for ourselves, of stepping up for ourselves. It's really important, and I think it can easily, like when we come into recovery or go to meetings or whatever it is, we are reaching out to then this whole support system, and we're building a support system and relying on this support system, and a lot of messaging in 12-step groups, unfortunately, is it can be really like degrading at times, and just saying like, oh, you have no idea what you're doing and you don't know anything and you need to start all over again and shut up and listen, and like all this degrading bullshit that really should stop, my opinion. But so then you come in, you're reaching out to a support system because you need that help of where you're at in your addiction, especially if you're bottoming out or something and really just needing to start and restart your life. And then you're told all these things of you're no good and useless, and if you knew how to do any of these things, then you wouldn't be a drug addict and do all this crap in the first place. Like, well, then you're kicking somebody while they're already down, probably just dealing with some of your own internalized stuff of seeing former you and somebody who's bottoming out and having a hard time. And then the little to no confidence they already have, you're then now just taking away and diminishing. And then the result is they're going to be relying more on you and more on the group or whatever their other support systems are, instead of having any confidence to think that they can take care of and do things for themselves. It's also the sick form of manipulation when you really think about it. Anyway, I digress, but I think those are important points to cover. So, when a lot of us hear these things and get this negative feedback, and also being addicts, we have all gotten constant negative feedback from anybody in our lives because of how we live in addiction. And non-addicts don't understand a lot of the time that we act and behave like this because we have a disease, not because we're useless and worthless and all of this other negative stuff. Our disease just happens to impact all these other areas of our lives, but non-addicts assume we just can't do life then. And it's absolutely not the case. It's absolutely not the case. I think any of us who come into recovery can look back on our history and find wins. You can find wins. You can find space and time where you have succeeded. You have done things successfully. You have taken care of yourself. I mean, if you got yourself even to this point alone, there is clear proof that you've been doing it. Somebody hasn't been spoon feeding you and clothing you every second of every day. Like, you've clearly been doing things to be supporting and taking care of yourself. So don't let all of this negative feedback that we get from the world, don't let that sink in and affect you. Don't let that tell you who you are. You know who you are. You know who you are and what you're capable of more than anybody else. And it's okay. So there. Anybody else? Emphasis pause. That's what I should have done there. But let that sink in for you. And then do that work and do it for you. And none of this is saying we don't need other supports. We don't need reliance of other things at times. I love how in the last paragraph here, it talks about the difference between self-support and self-sufficiency. And that's a whole other thing that I could get into, is finding that balance between the two. But in this case, self-support, taking care of you, loving you, self-care, doing things that you need and know you need to do to take better care of yourself and feel better, absolutely very important. And you can do them, you're able to, and that is on your shoulders. That's up to you to do. And that's not, don't let it be something that scares you and overwhelms you. Like, you feel these feelings, okay, sure. Well, then bring up some courage and reach for some courage to then be able to face it and do it and take care of yourself anyways. My dad always said that he's just a believer of that. If everybody spent more time taking care of themselves, we wouldn't have such a need for so many social supports. Our hospitals wouldn't be so strained, along with our first responders, these crisis lines, and you know what? I gotta say, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I really like that perspective. And it's not, I take it and look at it as not shaming people for when they need any forms of help or support or anything. It's just doing what you can to take care of yourself and your own health, mental and physical. Doing as much of that work for yourself as you can so then others don't need to take care of you. So then when you are an addict and you come into recovery in this sense, you are now getting support and sufficiency from others and things outside of you, guidance, teaching, whatever that may be, and you're doing that work yourself. You take the initiative to reach out and ask for help, ask for guidance. You take that help and then you apply it in your life and you do that work harmoniously. You're working with these systems. You're not just lying there, just being like, okay, fix me, take care of me, get me healthy, whatever. There's a big difference between the two. And there's also a big difference between knowing what your health needs are and taking care of them, and then not knowing what they are and then not knowing how to take care of them. And I think for a lot of us in recovery, that's the case. That was absolutely the case for me. When I was in the hospital and I finally got diagnosed as an addict and having PTSD, these were brand new words to me. Literally, I felt like I had never heard the word or the term addict before. You are an addict. It felt new to me. I'd never heard of PTSD in my life. And so at that moment, funny enough, I actually had such a relief because I knew what was wrong. I was such a disaster, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know why I couldn't stop using. I didn't know why I was always so like escalated and hyper vigilant and scared all the time. You think it's anxiety. It was trauma, and I had a ton of trauma that I had never got the proper help or support with. So then, of course, what's the easiest way to shut the trauma down? Get blackout intoxicated. So I did it all the time. So I didn't know how to, and in that moment and through those times, that was my version of self-support, because that's all I knew how to do. That's all I could put together. I had all this untreated trauma that I literally didn't know was a word or a thing. But the more drugs I took, the quieter the noise got. Great. That's the goal. We're going to keep doing that. And so I didn't know how to turn that off or replace it because I didn't know what was wrong and I didn't know the help that I needed. Since then, going to treatment, getting trauma therapy, consisting ongoing therapy, 12-step groups, aftercare, I'm now doing all of that work because I know what it is, and there's the version of self-support, and that's how I'm doing that for me. Even right now, like this video, I'm putting this out later than I would normally because I really needed to sleep. I've had, some really stressful stuff coming up, working like at with one of my other clients, and so I needed that time for me, putting these videos out for y'all because it's a thing I want to do, and also for me because I do really enjoy them. After this, I'm making myself a nice good breakfast, and then I'm going to go to the gym. I messaged my therapist this morning when I got up and did a meditation, and I shared in a chat daily reflections group that I started this chat and put a share in there. So like sharing at a meeting, same idea. I called a friend in recovery. I've done all of these things first thing this morning, and I've still got the rest of the day to be doing some self-support and taking care of me because that's my job. No one else is going to do that for me healthily. If I engage in manipulation and desperate cries for help, then sure, maybe somebody may show up, but it's my job. I'm my responsibility. My feelings are my responsibility. So I have to do all these things. And because I have this life in recovery and all these other supports that I've been working with and learning from, I now have all the tools to be able to do this. I know how to support myself a lot more. So if you're new, if this is all like, oh my God, this guy's speaking another language, this is the result of over 12 years in recovery and 12 years of doing that work. So don't let any of this be discouraging, please. Know that I was just like you and in that spot and came in a total mess. Like, I came in 23 when I got sober, trigger warning after surviving suicide, and I was back in homelessness again. Like, I was a wreck and I had no idea how to support myself. So I came from there and here I am now. So with these little steps, little bits of work, working, just with these things, you can do this and you can build these things for yourself and build this life in recovery for yourself that you want. So there we go. I think that's a good place to stop. I think I'm gonna close up on that. So self-support versus self-sufficiency, and just that idea of really taking care of yourself and doing the best that you can. And then if you can't, don't know how, that's when you reach out to support from other folks and work with them. Not have them do it for you, do the work with them so you can do it for you. Okay? So please share down in the comments what stands out for you with this reflection today. How do you engage in self-support? What are the things that help you the most when you're wanting to do self-support? We'd love to hear them. They could be great ideas for other folks, which could help somebody else, and that's the whole point. Okay? On the support note, if you are liking some of these ideas and the concepts, but thinking, I still feel kind of lost, I'm overwhelmed, this is too much, reach out to me. I do recovery coaching with folks. Contacts in the description. I'd be happy to talk with you to see if there's a way that I can help support you and then teach you how to be applying more of this self-support for you. Okay, so that's all in there as well. In the description, there's there are free resources. There's recovery coaching videos, a podcast, blog. All these things are on our website, so you can check all of those out. And then other ways to support us and get engaged with the channel is get yourself some merch. We've got a great merch store online. You can donate, become a member, and joining us. All these things really help. Oh, and also sharing too, the YouTube thing. Share, like, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. It all really helps us so we can keep growing, so we can help other people. Okay? So thank you for joining us for a coffee and contemplation today. I hope you liked that one. Have a great day in recovery, another beautiful 24, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.